When War Thunder's Royale update dropped, most people were focused on the popular planes like the F-14B or the Su-25T, but not me. No, I had my sights on something that had the possibility to be the most dangerous plane in the game. I'm talking about China's new J-8F. Not that the J-8 is new, it's still the same love child of a MiG-19, 21, 23, but the new F variant makes it one of the best planes in War Thunder. There's a lot of ways that I could review this plane, but I'm so confident that you'll be amazed by it that I'm just going to go down the specs list. I'll cover the engines first. The J-8 uses the Shenyang Liming WP13B2 engines. These are among the most powerful engines in the game, with a max thrust of 4,740 kilos and a max afterburner thrust of 6,970 kilos. To compare these to other top-tier jets, these engines provide more thrust than those found on the MiG-29 and are only beaten out by the F-14 and F-16. There is one thing that the J-8 can do that none of these other planes can, and that's super cruise. Now, there are a few caveats with that, like how if you're at sea level, you'll have to fly straight for possibly minutes before the air cone dissipates, but I've consistently gotten above 770 miles per hour without using afterburners. Once you do start using afterburners, you'll very quickly zoom past Mach, and soon enough you'll find yourself at Mach 1.2 on the deck. Just watch out, the jet likes to rip its wings around Mach 1.25. Another great thing about these engines is that they're not fuel hungry. The J-8F can carry a maximum of 28 minutes of fuel, and that's enough to get to the fight, engage in a lengthy dogfight, and fly back home, all without letting up on the gas. Final thing I'll say about these engines is that either they're cold or the J-8's flares are really hot, because you don't even have to drop out of afterburner for your flares to confuse enemy missiles. That must be some hidden Chinese superpower, because this isn't the first Chinese jet that I've noticed this on. Moving on to the weapons, you have some disappointments and some real standouts. Starting with the disappointments, you have all of the ground ordnance that the J-8 can carry. You have the heat rockets, which are so inaccurate that I've never been able to hit anything, even with the J-8's ballistic computer. The jet can also carry 250 and 500 kilo bombs, which sounds nice, but you can only carry 2 of the 500 kilo bombs or up to 8 of the 250 kilo bombs, 6 of which are placed on the belly and are in slots that can't be used by anything else. I'd carry the belly mounted bombs in ground battles if I had to, but China also has access to an F-16 with Mavericks, so I'd rather just use that instead if I was looking for a jet to take into ground matches. If you take the belly mounted bombs to air battles, you'll find that they slow you down a lot. I'm talking barely able to reach Mach 1.05, and when you finally do get to a base, you'll only be able to destroy half of it, so I would avoid taking bombs in air battles too. Taking a look at the missiles, this is where the J-8F goes from good to amazing. You'll find 2 different kinds of missiles here, the PL-5Bs and the PL-8s. The PL-5B is a Chinese homegrown missile, but you can think of it as a slightly worse French Magic 1 missile. PL-8, on the other hand, is just Python 3s that the Chinese bought from Israel, and these Pythons are the best IR missile in the game. Max overload of 40 Gs, max speed of Mach 3.5, 20 seconds of guidance time, and a lock-on range of almost 7 miles. These things have better performance than pre-nerf AIM-9Ls. I regularly lock, launch, and hit targets that are more than 3 miles away from me. I found that 3.5 miles is about the limit, and if the plane is flying away from me at full speed, I'll wait till they're within 2 miles. It's not like the Pythons are going to be replacing long-range IR missiles like the R-24T. And Pythons do have one big downside, being that they're as flare hungry as any other missile in the game, although they do have a tendency to ignore flares coming from Phantoms and Mirages unless they start dumping a ton of them. The J-8 has helmet aiming, and rather than using it for high off-bore sight shots, I found myself mostly using it to avoid locking up enemy flares. I want to take a second to talk about a weapon that isn't currently on the J-8F, but Gaijin has confirmed that it will be coming in a future update, and those are the PL-12 active radar missiles. I can't find a ton of concrete data on these missiles, but I've seen that their capabilities are supposedly on par with AMRAAMs and R-77s. Until those are introduced, you can't really make full use of the J-8's radar, which is on par with the F-16s. For overall performance across 115 games, I've held a pretty steady 60% win rate, and thanks to the Pythons, I have a 1.4 KD. I've had an absolute blast with my time playing the J-8F. If you want to play around at top tier with a nimble jet better than the MiG-21 and you don't mind the missile thunder memes, then I think that the Jade is definitely a jet that you'll want to grind for.